Good morning, San Francisco! We want to wait for everybody. They're still hugging each other inside our great city hall. Come on all out, everyone. Before we begin, I just wanted to give a special thanks to Tom Taylor and Gilbert Baker for this wonderful, beautiful rainbow flag. Thank you, Tom and Gilbert. I also want to give a shout out to the Evelyn and Walter Haas Jr. Fund for helping us in this equality support. Ladies and gentlemen, it's June 26th. Something must be happening. Well, did you hear and did you feel the earth shake this morning? Well, I just wanted to tell you that I don't think it was an earthquake, but I do believe it was the scales of justice tipping, and it was the arc of our history being bent. That's what we felt this morning. You know, San Francisco, we've always been proud of our role in leading the nation and perhaps the world in the challenge to foster equality, acceptance, and tolerance for all people. We're a city that celebrates diversity every day and everyone who lives here. Yes. And it is this diversity that brings people from all over the world to celebrate with us. Well, we are once again changing the world, changing how people everywhere think about committed, loving relationships, and the definition of marriage. And we are also redefining how we define family and how children of LGBT parents should be treated equally as their other parents are. We have stood together, witnesses to history, as the Supreme Court ruled that every same-sex couple across America has the freedom to marry. And at long last, ladies and gentlemen, marriage equality in the United States of America. We started this movement right here in San Francisco. We kept the momentum going throughout the state of California. It didn't stop until we reached all 50 states so that every loving couple in America can be married. Now, every single state in our union. We have been relentless in our focus to ensure equality for everyone across the nation. And now the United States joins Ireland and 18 other countries. Full marriage equality. We are now moving our world in the right direction. Well, San Francisco has always been the lead in the LGBT movement, and we are a city that is committed to equality for everyone. And we've come a long way. We've got a lot to celebrate in this Pride Month. Equality without exception. Well, this is our city hall. This is your house. This is the People's Palace, where so many loving couples have come to wed. And I think we can all agree that today's remarkable moment of history would not have come were it not for the first marriage, the wonderful Del Martin and Phyllis Lyon. And then again, the thousands of other loving couples that we have had shared opportunity to marry and to be part of their marriage, performed in this very building since 2004 and again in 2008. Yes, I want to say thank you to my predecessors. Gavin Newsom. Yeah. I want to say thank you to Willie Brown when he was working at the state. Thank you to Art Agnos when he was mayor and when he did his work. Leader Pelosi, our city attorney, Dennis Herrera, all his wonderful work. Senator Mark Leno, thank you for your leadership. Supervisors Wiener and Campos, thank you for your constant leadership. Our board president, London Breed, thank you for your work there. And I'm so glad that we can have this moment. And I want to introduce someone who's been working tirelessly, whose heart has always been with people who needed her help, her agency's help, been there, has constantly advised us at City Hall about what should happen, what can possibly happen. And we enjoyed a moment this morning where we talked about how lucky it would be to be a law student these days. Because now we get to read about our own united history. Let me welcome to the podium Kate Kendell, the National Center for Lesbian Rights.
It's a hell of a day. It's a hell of a day. You. Look what you did. Look what you did. Today, America walks the talk of equal justice under law. Today, millions of families are more secure and validated. Today, our freedom to marry the person that we love is vindicated. Today, in every corner of our nation, every lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender person can breathe deeply and walk a little taller. Today, the ground has shifted, and for the first time in history, the relationships of same-sex couples enjoy the same dignity and respect as anyone else. Justice and love won today. And make no mistake, much of what we won today started here. This is what you did. Today is what you did. You made today possible. You're the reason we're standing here. Every sacrifice, and I know, because I know many of you, and I know the stories from across the country, the sacrifices made by so many, the shame and the indignity endured by so many, that is now over, and those relationships matter, and every sacrifice you made has now been vindicated and matters. So now our charge is to harness this momentum so that everyone in our community, no matter where they live, can live fully and freely. Our charge is to take this momentum, to move it forward, to battle racism, to battle economic inequality, to be sure that no one is left behind. No one is left behind. I know you know this. But it bears repeating. From attacks on transgender women of color, to the shocking number of LGBT homeless youth, to the denial of parental rights and recognition, to conditions in detention centers, jails, and prisons, to even the basic right to get and keep a job. The daily reality for still so many in our community is isolation and stigma. But we are going to do something about that. Because look what we did! Look what we did! Now, I know you all understand that there's going to be forward work, but guess what? You're joined by tremendous partners. 11 years ago, when we were involved in issuing marriage licenses and when we filed our lawsuit, there were only 3 companies that signed on to an amicus brief to the California Supreme Court validating marriage equality and the freedom to marry. PG&E, AT&T, and Levi Corporation. 3 companies. who stood up, got tremendous blowback. The latest amicus brief to the Supreme Court in our marriage cases before the Supreme Court, hundreds of companies signed on to Friend of the Court brief. So we have a huge community, and we have over 60% of the public with us. We can finish this job. PG&E this week pledged another $250,000 to NCLR to help do this forward work. And yes, and their challenge is to every other corporation to spread that money throughout the community in California and beyond to assure that we take this victory and we take what we're feeling today and we make sure there is a day where every LGBT person feels this. But today, we have the scaffolding to build a new America for every LGBT person and beyond. This is the once in a generation chance, a once in a movement chance to alter the future of every successive generation. So who's with me? Let's do this. Let's do this. Back in 2004, you look back now 11 years and you think, oh gosh, this was a foregone conclusion and everybody should have stood up for the freedom to marry. But you know that was not the case. It took uncommon leadership. And we had that in our city attorney, Dennis Herrera. It was an honor to work with him side by side. Please welcome our city attorney, Dennis Herrera.
Happy Pride! Thank you, Kendell and Mayor Lee, who I'm sure arranged for the great weather they're going to have this weekend, right? What a wonderful, wonderful day. You know, I had Justice Terry Stewart and now Judge Vince Chabria, who are here today, in my office, remembering where we were 11 years ago and about the challenges that we knew we were going to face as we began this battle alongside Mayor Gavin Newsom. And we've stood on these steps many times over the course of those 11 years. We've had a lot of ups. We've had some downs. But all of us collectively never, ever wavered in doing what was right. And as I think back, we have uttered the words many times in this building about the arc of history bends toward justice. Well, today it came to fruition. And I think we need to call special recognition to the Obergefell plaintiffs and our good friend Mary Bonato for her tremendous leadership and work at the United States Supreme Court. But what we saw today was a culmination of something that I have said repeatedly over the course of the last 11 years. The beauty of using the power of the law to make a difference in people's lives each and every day. And that is what we saw over the course of the last 11 years. But it would not have happened without the human faces of all of you. Because if you had the opportunity, or if you have the opportunity, to go and read Justice Kennedy's opinion this morning, I would encourage you to read the syllabus, the beginning, the introduction. It talks a lot about the history of marriage, the history of discrimination the LGBT community has dealt with for all too long. And you get a sense of the power of humanity and the ability to change people's minds. And today, everybody succeeded in really bringing justice to the thousands and thousands of LGBT families and individuals that have suffered for millennia. And today, it stops. And that is due to the efforts of all of you. Think about the progress that we made. Prop 22 passed 60-40 in this state 15 years ago. And now, how many people have come to the right conclusion about understanding that everybody is entitled to equal protection under the law, irrespective of sexual orientation? And I want to draw something to what Kate Kendell said about that this is obviously another brick in the foundation of the wall of equality. But it doesn't stop here. If we're going to build a more just society, there's more work left to be done in terms of income inequality and those that are economically less fortunate, to deal with issues of racism, to understand that while today is a wonderful day and we should celebrate, we also have to understand that there is still discrimination that we have to fight, and we need equal protection under the law in federal employment legislation and the like for LGBT individuals throughout this country, to make sure that the efforts of people like Jim Hormel and Roberta Achtenberg, who I see standing in the back, what they went through, no one ever has to go through again. And that we have equality in every sphere of our lives in this country once and for all. And I know that with the efforts and stick-to-itiveness of all of you, that you'll stick with what we have accomplished today and continue that battle as we fight into the future. So thanks so much for your support. It's a day to celebrate. Have a great weekend.
You know, the city attorney brings up an interesting point. What are you doing this weekend? We're gonna be here on Sunday, right? And we'll have a lot to celebrate. You know, there are many tremendous leaders up here with me who made today possible through their tremendous political leadership and through taking risks. But one of them was a man who I think even before many of us thought that this day could be realized, he did. A great friend to not just this community, but to every community, and one of the most tremendous leaders we have in the state of California. Please welcome Senator Mark Leno.
Today, San Francisco values become America's values. Kate, thank you for not only the warm introduction, but for all of your leadership. And Mayor Lee, thank you for your hospitality today, for bringing us to City Hall, and for your decades of fighting for equal rights for all Americans. And of course, I want to shout out for our friend Gavin Newsom, who put a face on television across the world of what a marriage between a same-sex couple looks like. Not all that scary. Dell, we did it. And also, of course, to our city attorney, who said not only would he take it to court and defend us, but did it so successfully with Justice Stewart by his side, and made all the rational legal case for what we see today realized across the nation. I also want to recognize that our then county assessor recorder, who issued the marriage licenses February 12th, Mabel Ting, is with us too. You know, it was a gay man who came out 46 years ago in 1969. I'm a Stonewall baby. For those of us who came out at that time, it was to announce to the world that we were mentally ill outlaws. It took till 1973 for the American Psychiatric Association to drop homosexuality from the list of mental illnesses. Thanks to Willie Brown in 1976, California no longer considered it a felony for adults of the same gender to have consensual relations. So that's from where we are coming. And when we took the law that Gavin Newsom decided he would break because it was clearly unconstitutional, but he knew that back then, to the state legislature, there were a lot of Democrats who were afraid of it. Somehow it was considered politically dangerous. But when we put it on Arnold Schwarzenegger's desk in 2005, yes, to face a veto, and brought it back and put it on his desk again in 2007, we had dispelled the myth that there's anything politically dangerous for standing up for the respect and dignity and validation of all human life, because we had twice as many co-authors on the bill, and we had many more votes for it when we put it on his desk. Clearly not a man of vision. I suspect he will be long remembered in California history as the George Wallace of California's struggle for equal marriage rights, standing at the door, blocking the door of the Hall of Justice, and saying no, not once, but twice. but we've come long and far from that day. And I just want to conclude by making sure we all know that this myth that we even hear perpetuated by a number of Supreme Court justices today, that the definition of marriage hasn't been changed in thousands of years, why would we want to change it now? But when, and I say this to my friends in the press in particular, when anyone says to you that they're defending traditional marriage, ask them what their definition of traditional marriage is. Is it the definition of marriage as we know it from the Bible, that if the bride's not a virgin on her wedding day, that we stone her to death? Is that your definition of traditional marriage? Or is it the definition of marriage up until the mid-19th century, until women could not sign contracts independent of their husbands because they and their labor were literally and legally the property of their husbands? Is that the definition of marriage you're defending? Or before the fact of divorce, until death do us part, a lifetime commitment, is that your definition of marriage? Or prior to the invention of contraception, when marriage was defined as the legal vehicle for procreation, but contraception changed all that. So today, when two individuals of potential equal economic means decide to get married, maybe for a lifetime, maybe not, maybe to create a family, maybe not, that not only are equal marriage rights for same-sex couples obvious, it becomes inevitable. And that inevitability happened today. And Kate is right. It's been a collaborative effort. And now, with that wall demolished, how much longer can a Republican-led Congress not support ending discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity in employment and in housing and in public accommodation? How do you get married this morning and get fired from your job this afternoon because of the gender of your spouse? It's got to end, and because of today's decision, it will end sooner rather than later. Thank you all for all your work.
There are a number of unsung heroes who made today possible, and one of them labored for hours before we issued that first marriage license to Del Martin and Phyllis Lyon. In addition to Mabel Tang, I want to acknowledge the former county clerk of San Francisco, Nancy Alfaro. Nancy? It takes a village. We've had fabulous leadership on the San Francisco Board of Supervisors for quite some time, but I think never more than now, and particularly it's great to have them celebrating with us. So I want to begin by introducing a fabulous supervisor from District 8, Scott Wiener.
Thank you. First of all, let's hear it for Mark Leno for his work. Can you even imagine getting a bill to the governor's desk in 2005 and 2007 and doing that work and helping to lead the way? So thank you, Mark. It is days like today that make me so proud to be a part of this LGBT community. This is a community, when you look at our history, it's a history of society telling us to shut up and sit down and be invisible and go in the closet and disappear. And time again, this community has said, hell no, we're not going anywhere. We are here, we are part of this society, and we will always be part of this society. And they tried to do it to us at Stonewall on Compton's cafeteria during the HIV epidemic. They tried to do it to us with Bowers v. Hardwick, with the federal marriage amendment. And every time we have fought and we have won. And today we win again. It is a giant step forward, but our work isn't done. And this is a tidal wave. We're going to get employment protection and housing protection. We are going to beat the HIV epidemic once and for all. We're going to take care of our seniors and our youth, and we are going to win. Have a great Pride weekend.
And because we have an abundance of riches on the Board of Supervisors, we want to hear from a couple more, providing also tremendous leadership, Supervisor David Campos.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you to the elected family. It's great to see Justice Stewart, Judge Chavria. I don't know, for those of you who are my age, you know, I was watching this morning with my husband as the opinion was being issued, and I never thought in my lifetime that I would see that. And so before I say anything else, I'd like to ask you to give sort of a brief moment of silence as we think about Harvey Milk, as we think about all the people that we know fought for this struggle that could not be here to see this day that we're seeing today. Thank you. I know Harvey is watching, but I also know, and I don't mean to spoil the party because there is a lot to celebrate, but I know that the Harvey Milks of the world who have fought for this day would also remind us that as important as legal equality is, the fact is that we still have a great deal of inequality in this country, that in this city we have the fastest growing inequality of any city in this United States, that we have brothers and sisters in the LGBT community. I see Teresa Sparks and I think about our transgender community, where unemployment is more than 50%. 40% of our homeless are queer. And so we need to take this victory, and the only way that I think we can honor and properly celebrate is to commit ourselves to make sure that we continue to fight for social justice. And it's not just legal equality, but it's socio-economic equality for every member of our community. And we should not rest until we change the fact that just the other day, my good friend Bevan Dufty, the mayor, and a number of us, you know, we proudly opened an LGBT homeless shelter for LGBT adults. And that's a very good thing. But our work is not done until we address the fact that queer people who are homeless are afraid to be in our shelter system, that they're still being abused and discriminated. And our work should not end until we actually have no more homeless in places like San Francisco, until every single member of our community can actually be able to achieve their fullest potential, until the American dream truly is a reality for all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. We're not done. Providing tremendous leadership on the Board of Supervisors and tremendous leadership to the city, please welcome the President of the Board of Supervisors, London Breed. Okay, well, on behalf of London Breed, I accept this award, and thank you very much for recognizing everything I've done for the city. Okay. One of my favorite city leaders, who I love what he's contributed to the city and his tremendous support of me and NCLR and our entire community, our treasurer, Jose Cisneros.
Good morning. I join you in being proud, but I'm also proud to tell you that for over 10 years I've been an openly gay Latino elected official here in San Francisco. And I'm proud of everything we've all done to make this day possible, but I want to share one of the things I'm personally proud of as well. The last year I was able to legally marry my partner of 25 years, Mark Kelleher, who's up here on this stage with us today. Like so many of you, we've been able to make our relationships just as responsible, just as legal, just as important, and just the same as everybody else's in this country. Thank you, and we're all proud of the U.S. Supreme Court. Keep up the good work, and have a great weekend. We're
We're going to wrap up, I think, but we'll see, with a representative of the City College of San Francisco. City College is right in my neighborhood and such an important institution for the city and county of San Francisco. And with this leadership, it's going to continue to provide the tremendous service that it does to the city. Please welcome CCSF board member Alex Randolph.
Hello, everybody. What a morning. Welcome to your palace here at City Hall. As one of the newest openly gay elected officials here in San Francisco, I can't tell you how excited I am to share this morning with you. I share the stage with our fabulous openly gay College Board President, Raphael Mandelman, who couldn't be here, unfortunately, today. I also share the stage with our pioneers who previously served at the College Board, Leslie Katz, Andrea Shorter, Lawrence Wong, Carol Migden, and the first openly gay trustee, Tim Wolfrit, who led the cause. And of course, this month, I was very excited to support, and yesterday we voted to appoint Susan Lamb, our interim chancellor at City College, who broke the lavender ceiling as becoming the first lesbian chancellor at City College. Despite of what you might read in the news media, I have no doubt that City College will be there for the next several decades to provide education to our community and our city. But I want to recognize that City College was actually a pioneer. It was one of the first colleges in the country to provide an LGBT studies class that broke pioneers and barriers, educating about our community and our history. And I can't wait for the day that Kate and some of you will come and teach at City College about this day, this movement, and the history that we made. Thank you so much for supporting City College. Thank you so much for being here today. Happy Pride.
So I want to finish up with another acknowledgement, and then I have a short poll. Okay, so the acknowledgement is he's not here today, but he was certainly standing side by side with Mark Leno and with NCLR in working on the bills, in helping us with the lawsuit. Jeff Coors and Equality California are a reason we're here. And now a short poll. I want to know in this audience here, who got married in 2004? Raise your hand. Awesome. Who got married in 2008? Who's going to get married this weekend? No. So the good news is you don't have to just because we can. But your lives and your future so much better because we can. Let's celebrate. Let's know that we're not done. It's going to be an amazing Pride weekend. Thank you for everything. Hey, folks, oh, there we go. Hey, whoa, before you leave, hey, can I have you come back? Before you leave, I promise you're going to want to see this. 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 So you would think with an interest like that he's gay, but he's not. So look, this guy took a huge political risk for this community. He did it for the right, principled reasons. He knew justice needed to come, and he decided to give it a little push. Our former mayor, now Lieutenant Governor, the fabulous, one of the men that I most admire on the planet, Gavin Newsom.
Hey, everybody. I'm sorry I'm late. I know you got a lot to do and a lot to celebrate, and more importantly, a lot to be proud of today. I heard some words on Wednesday night that President Obama made that made me really reflect and think. about this moment. The president said, he said, courage comes in many different forms. Courage comes at a time of war. Courage comes from quiet perseverance. Courage comes in the form of moral courage. Gandhi and King and Havel and Mandela. And then there's the courage of many of you. The courage to be who you are. The courage to stand up and make that remarkable statement to a friend or loved one that I'm gay. This is who I am. This is who I love. The courage that so many of you must have had when you walked down the hall and said, Mom, I got something I want to tell you. That's remarkable courage. And that's the courage we're celebrating here today. Had it not been for all of you, had it not been for those millions and millions of conversations that were held and the millions and millions of conversations that were won, there'd be no Supreme Court decision like the one we had today. So thank you to all of you for your quiet courage, for your perseverance, for your belief in each other, and your belief in this most foundational principle that love is what it's all about. Marriage matters. Family matters. And that's what we're affirming today. So it's a day of affirmation. It's a celebration of everything that makes, I think, this country a special place. And how appropriate, and I'll close here, how appropriate that right behind us, Mayor Lee and others are going to walk in to celebrate the founding of the United Nations that happened here today 70 years ago. How appropriate. Because the spirit of the United Nations is the spirit of this moment. It's about pluralism. It's about a recognition that we're all better off when we're all better off. And that it's right, as Bill Clinton would say, to celebrate all our interesting differences. But at the end of the day, what makes this country not good but great is when we reconcile those differences and we celebrate the things that bind us together. That web of mutuality Dr. King talked so evocatively about. We practice pluralism. We celebrate. We don't tolerate our diversity. That's the greatness of this city, this state, and our nation. So I'm grateful to be back. I'm grateful to be invited back to City Hall, Mayor Lee. Thank you. I'm grateful to Kate Kendell, to Joyce Neustadt, to my chief of staff, that's never going to leave as chief of staff of this city, Steve Cava, to Mayor Lee, to the extraordinary assemblage of elected officials, past and present, from Harvey Milk himself, to the extraordinary contributions of Tom Amiano and Leslie Katz and Mark Leno, and to so many others, to the great work of Scott Wiener and many, many others that I have forgotten but don't mean to neglect. We stand on your proverbial shoulders. We're grateful for your leadership. We're grateful for all the extraordinary work you've done to get us to this moment. And let me just close with this. You know, today for me, you know, I got 3 kids. And it was an interesting thing. You know, I'm new to this parenthood. Here's what happens when you think about your kids. I got a 5 and 4 and 1-year-old. And I swear to you, the phone rang this morning, and like 7:03, and the first picture came up as my 5-year-old daughter. And all I could think about was her and how proud I am that she's going to grow up in a country that recognizes what you've always known, that recognizes the value of each and every one of us, that recognizes this fundamental ideal that we're all human beings that care deeply about making it work, making our lives work, getting through the day, just living out our lives. But we want to do it with dignity. We want to be respected. We want to live our lives out loud. And what an extraordinary world she gets to live in because of all of you. What an extraordinary moment in time. And in closing, it's a reminder of this. Today is the antidote to cynicism. It's an antidote to any kind of despair that you may have. Your frustration, your sense of powerlessness, that should do away with that. Each and every one of you has remarkable capacity to do extraordinary things. You got to exercise your voice. You got to stand on principle. You got to step up and step in. And if you do that, extraordinary things can happen. Don't ever despair. Don't ever give up. Don't ever believe a challenge is too big. Don't ever believe a hill is too tall to climb. Today is about an affirmation of all of us and our unique capacity to do extraordinary things. Folks, the best is yet to come in this country. Thank you all very much for being here.